author, philosopher, leader, musician, social entrepreneur, a proud son of the soil. Ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Mara-Rah Maponga. Magadi Elder. I'm not going to Pogamaja.
Shoko.
Magadi Shoko.
Wiramiti.
Kuramiti.
Garamboko. Garamashamba Uda. Chirana Wanji. Makumu Manangasindu Shana. Wakaramba Ugeza.
Okay.
Wanamshamba Negore. Wanamponango Kuba. Zugwe Ziteza Nobugwana Manga. Warpedo and Tamanasum. Tamborparo Wari. Wiramiti Asosi.
Why are you making me look bad? I couldn't even do more than 2 lines of my own totem.
It's your problem.
Thank you very much for making time. I know you're a very busy man.
Thank you.
And I know after this you need to travel, but you made sure that you came through for your young brother. So we have this interview. Much appreciated. So since we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to dig straight into it. Where do I start? I think background is important. A lot of I know you've been in lots of places, speaking about the African philosophy, and you've appeared on many shows, many platforms, conferences, and so on. Let's start off with you were in South Africa, and you moved back recently, I believe.
For the sake of those who consume lots of public media sensations, there was a whole lot of talking around me being deported from South Africa and coming back to Zimbabwe. It's not true.
Right.
My family is in Johannesburg.
Right.
And I was there yesterday.
Right. Yeah, I noticed soon after they started talking, I saw you were appearing on some shows in South Africa.
And I'm a regular citizen of Zimbabwe and a permanent resident in South Africa.
Right.
And so maybe just to get that out of the way.
Right.
With the sensation that other people want to develop around it. You know, people consume lots of garbage.
Right.
But no one bothers to find facts. I am a legal citizen of Africa, and Zimbabwe is a province in Africa. South Africa is a province. Zambia, Gambia, those are provinces. But we are on one solid block of land.
Right.
And no African must be made to feel like a foreigner anywhere on the African continent. And the faster we wean ourselves off the breast of colonialism that separates us from each other, we may quickly discover we are one people. The Shumbas in Zimbabwe, which is the lion, Vana Mramki, Vana Sipambi, ndimi vana Banda kuMalawi, ndimi vana Tau in South Africa, Ngonyama. So which part of it could be confusing for you to find that your clan lineages are not limited to the Zimbabwean hegemony of how different I am to you? The question must be, how similar
Are we?
am I to you? And my grandfather on my mother's side is a Shumba. My grandmother on my mother's side, Ndwana Dziva, Wana Mlambo, Wana Mbedzi. My grandmother on my father's side, Ndwana Tembo, Manjenjenje, Chiyongo Chavasikana, Ndova Nambonambi in South Africa, Tembo in Malawi. Then finally, Wana Baba, Wana Berikaini, Ndwana Mkanya, Wana Sose, Wana Fudzijena. So, and I think immediately we remove the colonial Berlin Conference limitations, where a group of white boys sat on a table and took a ruler to draw boundaries. And now we wake up in the 21st century to discover that our grandmothers are across the river. Some of those lines literally cut through the dining room. And all of a sudden, to go to the kitchen, you need a passport. To go to the toilet, you need a passport. But this, I've never understood how 54 African presidents can fail to undo what 5, 10, or 15 white boys did in Berlin.
Is it not also a question of power? We have 54 leaders. So if we take away the borders, we now need one leader.
Power is one thing, control is another thing. We have people that are in power, but that are not in control.
Okay.
You could be sitting as a president, and it's a title.
Right.
But the question is, do you have access to economic? Do you have access to culture? Do you have access to the resources? Do you have access to land, which makes you a powerful leader? So many of what we call powerful African leaders are actually puppets in the colonial hand to manage, to control, to maintain a colonial narrative. And the African child needs to look past democracy, past constitution, and see themselves right at the back before they were colonized and say, who were we? Because we cannot be sitting here in the 21st century and define ourselves in the language of those that colonized us. We can't do that. It's not all right, Chirungu. Yes, we speak English. And some of us can even speak it better than the English people themselves. But that does not define identity. We need to go few steps back, and hence my introduction will be, I am a watcher from the future, living with you in the present with solutions from the past. How do we combine our history and our destiny into transforming our narrative in the present?
Right. I want to dwell a little bit on your history. And then I want us to go to your African philosophy and the gospel according to Joshua Maponga. You were an elder in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a preacher, a very big person there. And then at some point, something went right or wrong. Can you tell us a little bit about that transition from being a church leader to then being a vocal speaker of African philosophy?
A very interesting question that addresses my history. And you are not addressing my history in its authenticity, but addressing my history in its coloniality. You are not asking me who I was meant to be, and who am I, but what the institutions of learning made me to be. I'm a third generation Adventist, if that makes any sense to any of you. My grandfather, my father, and me. Big family of preachers, the best in the country, here in Zimbabwe, converting thousands of people, building hundreds of churches. I worked there for 33 years as a minister. And when the Adventist Church felt my thinking, the way of processing and reasoning, packaging, inclusive to Afrocentric interpretation of our plight, I found that the church was found wanting. My religion became a miniskirt. It was too short in the front. And when you cover the front, it was too short at the back. When you cover the back, I hope you can get the imagery. I had to stop and say, if the God that the white man brought to Africa allows the white man to colonize the African, take his land, rape his women, give him minerals. And this God is actually saying, yeah, because you were disobedient, you broke my commandments, that's why I'm sending you through that. 400 years later, I look at that narrative and I say, this is not right. Even as a circumcised theologian, the same black book then says, I'll send you into slavery for 400 years. And after 400 years, I will let you go back to your land. And then I look at my prophetic charts and discover that even the Bible says slavery is over. Whatever crime we committed against this God, we have paid for it. It's time up for the colonialist to go back home and give us our space. Using the same biblical narrative for those of you who are in that space. Even the Bible does not allow colonialism to go beyond my generation. And I am here to make that declaration that the honeymoon of colonialism, with all its gadgets, governance, education, agriculture, entertainment, sports, recreation, health and technology, and spirituality. It's time where the white Jesus must pack his bags and go back home where he came from. It's time for Muhammad and Islam to pack their bags and go back to Saudi Arabia. It's time for the African to start asking those uncomfortable questions, which you are asking me from a religious space. Where were you? Who are you? Wait, no, you're not asking me who I was and who I am. Ask me, what were you colonized to be? Because had the Chinese people colonized us, all of us here would have been Buddhists. Had Muslims colonized us, all of us here would have been Muslims. But because the British colonized us, then you say you're a Christian. The day you bring to me a recipe of how to change a goat to make it a sheep, I'll tell you how an African can become a Christian.
It's a very powerful and beautiful vision that you have. But I'll put it to you this way. 31.6% of the world are Christians. The percentage is even higher in Africa. 49% of Africa is Christianity. How practical is it for this vision of yours to manifest?
I'm not interested in the practicality of it. My calling is that of identity. The fact that you can have 1,000 people who are in agreement to a wrong thing does not make it right. So right is right, even when no one does it. Wrong is wrong, even when everybody does it. And I think I'd given you a pretext to your question when I said it's a colonial tool that Africa finds itself in the Christian space. If you go to Libya, you get to Somalia, you get to Egypt, you get to Algeria, you find because of the Arab influence, those countries are Muslim. But after you say they are Muslim, are they Muslim first before they are Africans? Or they are Africans first before they become Muslim? The question is, who are they? Self-determination, sovereignty of nations has to do with every race on the face of the world being allowed to be who they are and deal with the influences of colonization. Right now we're in the space where we are decolonizing. Decolonizing simply means we are resetting Africa to factory settings. we are removing all the unnecessary apps which are, I almost swore at you, which are filled up in our minds toward identity, and say, but who are you? So my interest is not, I'm not even worried. Even if you told me 99% of Africa is Christian, I'll still be asking you the question, but who are they? After you have made them Christian, but who are they? And while you're on the same statistics, do further research, and you find that 30 to 40% of all the churches in Europe right now are up for sale. They're being converted into museums, into pubs, into recreational centers. It's there. So the question is, what is it that the European has now discovered about this Jesus infatuation, which the African is still excited about? But because Africans lost their identity and allowed other people to define them, we will be 50 years from now where Europe is right now. Munofarira kutevedzera zvavamwe vanhu. Mosangana navo vodzoka. Imoti tikuenda ukoko. Ukoko. Vatobvako vati hakuna chiriko. Kumunga hakuna pwa. Ndombovhurikita chikaranga nombodududza. Pamunomanyira ukoko. Vanga variko vakudzoka vachiti there's nothing there. These same white people have abandoned this thing. Why? Because it's founded on a false doctrine of the whitening of God. False doctrine of the whitening of Jesus. False doctrine. Oh, I hope you'll tolerate me.
Go ahead.
Cultic behavior of drinking human blood, eating human flesh, in the transubstantiation of the Lord's Supper. Africans are constantly being brainwashed to think that it's okay to drink the blood of Jesus and eat his flesh. You are Africans. If I can ask you, and you call this religion? No, don't shake your heads. This is the crux. You call this religion. Half of you here, if not 90% of you, are Christian. But when the white man tells you to do it like this, you don't question. When an African comes and asks you the question, do you know what you're doing? What is this all about? No, he's a pagan. Maponga J is an atheist. He's a Satanist. I'm simply asking the question, are you saying your salvation is based on human consumption and drinking blood? Where do you find those cults if that not in witchcraft? And here we are, proudly saying, I'm Christian. I'm a Christian. What are you? And they ask me, are you still a Christian? And so I say, ask me the right question. Are you still brainwashed? That's the right question.
Every time you throw a bar, I'm supposed to press that thing.
Press it twice, press it again.
So, the gospel according to Joshua Maponga, I need you to describe it better for me. Am I correct to think that it's a merge between what we know is Christianity and African tradition?
I'm a bridge builder. You have the gospel in the Bible with the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 4 disciples that write the same story, but each one of them in their own perspective. So I did Greek, I did Hebrew. I could take you on that route. Kata, Markon, Kata, Lukon, Kata, Matthew, Kata, Ioanong. Meaning the gospel according to Matthew, according to Luke, according to John, according to Mark. Simply meaning I had an encounter with Yahshua, Yahuwah, Yeshua, Jesus. This is the way I am interpreting my experience. Okay. In the 21st century, if I should come up with a title of a book entitled The Gospel According to Maponga J, who sits in front of you today, I am simply saying, as I see it, as I understand it, as I have experienced it, and I am a circumcised theologian. If God gave the Israelites, Jerusalem, a land belonging to the Palestinians, the Philistines, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Jebusites. What is the same God giving the African? And if this God has a problem with Africans, then he never created them. Because you cannot have such a race of people simply built to become slaves of another generation and another nation. I don't like that God. And I've asked the question, and no one has come up to answer it. The question is the God of the Bible the creator of the universe? Because if he is the creator of the universe, we need to ask the same God the question, so what is your agenda with Africans?
So
we understand the white involvement, their domination and their colonization and their whatever. I'm not interested in Indians and Asians and etc. I am a Pan-Africanist. So I want to ask the same God, where is our land? Where is our identity? And if your God cannot accept me as an African, takabvakoka sungaitai kamfundisi mufeke batch ne hembe white kuti mugopinda mchurch, dress up like a white man so that God can accept you. Then you look at this God and say, hold on a minute. If you have a problem with the African and his identity, question, then who created this one that you have a problem with? Because it looks like you only favor this one. Oh, if a man claps one cheek, give him the other cheek. Oh, that's good for white people, yeah? What if a black man should clap a white man? Should the white man also give him the other cheek? How come the gospel only works with why and how and justifies why an African must be colonized and abused by the white man? But the same gospel will not tolerate if a black man becomes the master, becomes the Lord, and implement the same law. If slaves must be obedient to their masters, it's beautiful when a white man is the master. What if we turn the verses around and say, what if the black man is the master? What must we do with these people that raped our mothers, stole our land, killed our kings? What does that God say? And if that God cannot address African problems, then that God never created the African. So my gospel has to do fundamentally with respect of every culture and clan in their own spaces, and not use religion as a foreplay of colonialism and managing the African anger towards issues that must be resolved, whether they be legislative issues, academic issues, and etc. Here we are struggling with democracy. Democracy simply meaning the white man can continue to abuse you. It's only that you have the right to vote, but you still don't have the right to land and function. But they are free in their countries to do what they want. You are not free. And we call that political freedom. Political freedom without economic power, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. The gospel according to Maponga J is an Afrocentric gospel that deals with African identity. Decolonize God, decolonize religion, take off the clothes of colonialism, find your identity as an African. Who are you? I am the watcher from the future, living with you in the present with solutions. I am who I am. I was, I am, and I shall be.
Does the gospel, according to Joshua Maponga, recognize Jesus as our Lord and Savior?
You are not ready for what you are asking. Because Jesus only appears on the library 500 years ago.
So does the gospel
Can you
of Joshua Maponga
process that?
Okay.
Go on your phone and find when the letter J appeared on the alphabet in your dictionary. It's 500 years ago.
Okay.
So, and Jesus was born 2,000 years ago. So how do you ask me to believe in Jesus who appears 500 years ago Yet the same Jesus is meant to have been born 2,000 years ago. So I am a philosopher. I don't apologize. Jesus is an illusion of modernity and language. He is a created being in the Catholic system of the Council of Nicaea. But when you go back to history, you will not find a man called Jesus. So I can't believe in what never existed. That's fact. So on another day, you can call me back and you can find out. So this one they call Jesus, who was he? Maybe we can go in that direction so that we can find the right name for it. No, name does not matter. No, he is even white to make it worse. And the history of where this Jesus should have been born, there were no white people there. So even Jesus is colonized. Religion is colonized into a framework of whitewashed religion. And why is this important? Listen to me, young people. It is convenient for the white man to make Jesus white, because the black man will not fight Jesus, because that's his savior. He is in the same image and culture of the colonizer. So when you look at a white man, what goes through your system? I'm looking at a cousin of Jesus. And the white people are allowed to abuse us psychologically. You tolerate that rubbish because imagery. Oh, can I speak English? Imagery, caricature, drama, film, music has constantly been pushed to you in a white structure. And before you notice it, your tolerance of whiteness in your food, in your diet, in your entertainment, in your culture, begins to say, if I am closer to the white people, I'm closer to God. Africa is severely colonized. It will take me time, but I am still young to accomplish it. I will not die before every African child discovers who they are. And if God cannot accept the African as an African, then maybe this God never created the African in the first place. I'm sorry. I apologize on your behalf if you can't process that. But if God cannot deal with you, with your identity, and can only accept you when you move away from who you are to what they want you to be, then you are well done. In another church in South Africa, I walked up on the pulpit dressed up in my African shirt, and I was actually told, my Adventist church, by the way, Orlando West, Johannesburg, Soweto. And I was told you cannot go on the pulpit if you don't have a tie and a jacket. So they took me to the back office. I was putting on a safari suit, and they put a tie on me on a safari suit. And the other elder donated his jacket so that I could go on the pulpit and talk to the people. Because the culture is that if you are African, God can't accept you. You need to look like this so that God can deal with you. And if this is what we call religion, I'm not interested. You pardon me. I am not interested. When a Catholic priest walks through a room, he fumigates all of us with incense. It's okay. When an African burns his incense, that's demonic. When a Catholic priest asks you to open your mouth and he puts the body of Jesus in your mouth, that's evil. When an African kills his cow and kills his goat, that's demonic. When an African goes to baptize, that's demonic. When the church baptizes, you have now become a child of God. When a Catholic gives you a new name, so you're now Peter, you're now Mary, you're now Elizabeth, that's fine. But Ngonizashe, Rukudzo, Ropafadzo are evil. What's your English name? Because apparently God cannot deal with Ropafadzo. God can't deal with Rudo. God can't deal with Munashe. He can only deal with Peter, James, and John. What does John mean? What does Peter mean? What does Ropafadzo mean? And if this Western religion does not accept, understand the African, then why are you Africans claiming to be Christians when the very God does not understand who you are? DJ yani? Unozi DJ yani? Mutubondi yani?
Soko murewa.
How? Mununa wangu sobati. Ndiona fuzishe. Chirika kudiro mununa.
So you have a very noble agenda. Go. But like I said, 660 million people versus Joshua Maponga. I think when I look at it, the Bible is a very successful book because it has a handbook. In African tradition, if, for example, I have problems, with regard to the Bible, if you have depression, there is a verse. If you have poverty, there is a verse. But when you come to Africa... No. I get you.
I also get you.
Yes. So what I'm saying is your vision and what you are trying to achieve is going to be very difficult without a book, right? Because people tend to want a handbook of life. Like how the Bible. A lot of people believe in Christianity.
Magato wachiwa fungwa. Mugawudziwa kunzi zvinofana kunyogwa kuti zvigogamuchirika. It must be written in a book. And there was a whole campaign around the Bible. I'm almost 60 years old now. I remember in the olden days when we received the first Bible. Gideon's kadiki kayak. Kangakana Matthew, Mark, na Luke, karika gospel kadokoso. Then the Africans started enjoying that Bible. But where is the rest of it? Then they printed the next edition, which had Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Proverbs, and Psalms. You remember? Kakawane, a little bit of Psalms in it.
Okay,
that's fine. But if you go back, you find there was a small little Bible that only had about 6 books, as I've mentioned them. Then the Africans started compressing, but where is the rest? Then they printed the Gospels and the New Testament. There was actually a printout of only the New Testament. The African process, where is the rest? And then they printed the final Bible, which had Genesis to Revelation, 66 books. And the first edition was locked on a pulpit and only the priest could read it. All of you could not read it. And it was written in Latin. That's why you still find in Catholicism right now, you still find Latin is a holy language. When you speak in Latin, then people... Then we were learning. I said, where is the rest of it? Then we find that the Catholic Bible itself has 88 books. The one they sent to you has 66 books. What is in the other books? No, it's supposed to be apocrypha. I'm a theologian. It's pseudepigrapha. Pseudo lies. Grapho, I write. Pseudepigrapha, I write falsely. These are false writings. But how can this be pseudepigrapha when the grapha quotes from pseudepigrapha and grapha becomes holy? And this is pseudo. Those of you who are academically circumcised will understand what I'm saying. How can you say that the Bible is holy when it is quoting from the unholy? Then you go back to the book of Enoch, the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Tobit, and you begin to find that the culture that is being discussed in those books is actually African culture, which the colonialist will not allow to become part of the text. Academically, this is demonized because it is closer to the Africans. This, the 66 books, is more circumcised. Why? Because it makes the African a slave. Obey your masters as you obey Jesus. And all the patriarchal stories that were. So the Council of Nicaea and the Masoretes, who actually did the texting of the Bible, edited what you now call the Word of God. Question: is the Bible the Word of God, or the Bible contains the words of God? Ndini shoko. Shoko. The word. Tiswa na matanga kugara. John 1 verse 1. In the beginning, pakutanga shoko.
Okay. For
Wandi wairi?
no, that one's
Ndati kudi. Nimbo zokoro ndimbo.
I can't say it like how you say it.
He's confused. The guy is confused.
Yeah. So, did you want to ask him something?
No, but I think we rushed a bit. Let's talk about his dress code. Kamuskwa kandikichi mdara.
Kamuskwa. Sanzi kamuskwa.
Yeah.
Ndicho kudzinga nunzi washairi. Oda kuti ndiwe ne doom. Ndikauya ne doom wote I'm civilized, yeah. If I bring a natural thing, then what a problem? I actually dress up like this to frustrate you. It's very deliberate, because I understand that when you see African emblems, you begin to associate them with evil. But they're not evil. They are not just spiritual, but they're also functional. As simple as that. So you don't have to worry about the way I dress. I'm just a library of your ancestors that you are afraid of. And I will not be scared to be who I am, because somehow, somewhere, you will be uncomfortable. Inda kufunza to keep it yakapfeka you. Unushandara kuma bulls eri urumunu wa America eri wapfeka chikepi you, but because that is acceptable. That's acceptable. This is hip.
That is expensive. That's why I'm not wearing.
This is from Vasutu. On another day, I should come back and we go through this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. African culture and art is a library of our ancestors. This is the world over the universe. This is the continent. This is the nation. This is the kingdom and the clan. This is the family. This is the individual, who I am in the community. And our ancestors were able to write from cosmology to chakras to food and diets in a piece of art. And if you understand art, you'll have read the library of our ancestors. And for me to put on a cap and for me to put on a hat, who has more data? If you look at my stick with all the various colors that are on it, it's a healing tool. You must eat white foods. You must eat red foods. You must eat green foods. You must eat yellow foods, etc. And if your table does not have this kind of a diet, then you have an unhealthy diet. Take the same stick, then package it into your body. The 7 systems that are in your body: your mind, your lungs, your heart, your gut, and your body, and etc. 7 colors that are right there. This is the rainbow. And if you understand this, then this is healing. If you go to the forest, each color that you see here is represented by a herb that is also in the felt out there. So you eat from the field to your body, to the universe. And they say Africans were uneducated and they could not read, they could not write. But when you understand the language of the ancestors, you'll actually discover that your health is here, your healing is here, your body is here, your function is here. The 7 divisions of life itself is encapsulated into this. So yes, kamwise ako Kamwise ako kaono tauro kamwise ako. It's not Janesh.
Nash.
It's not just kamwise ako. Usati kamwise ako. A library of knowledge. And until you understand every design and representation of nature that sits on my hand, you would think that this is witchcraft, when in fact this is well-being, wellness, and life itself. Women are not natural. Women are spiritual. And every man that is here, I challenge you, starting with you, Mnona. You don't sleep with a woman. You sleep with your mother. Because the woman that you sleep with is able to reproduce you.
Does that sound right, Elder?
Miram Komana. Your wife is your wife, yes. But she's your mother. Because your wife will reproduce you. Kademo aka kanomirira the feminine energy. 3 months later, after a baby girl is born, then you take the child out when the moon sits and you show the child the half moon and you tell the child, there is your mother. Because from that day onward, that child, female child, must understand that her cycles of life are going to be managed by the movement of the moon. That's why even in Shona, when women are there, we say, Varikumwezi. Hello?
Yeah, that's deep.
Where are they? They are with the moon. Women are therefore spiritual portals, sacred spaces that translate human beings from sperm and water into bone and marrow. This represents the purity of women. And when a country loses the virginity of girls, it has lost its spirituality. That is the cleanest space of any nation, is the girl child. And any man who walks out there destroying virginity, you are destroying spirituality and truthfulness. For the only truth we have is women. The rest are lies. And if our women can produce after truth, the world will be restored to order. It may sound like a big obligation, but in a world that seems to undermine the value of women, I come as an African traditionalist and I say, the center of the community and the nation is women. And there's no way any man can carry this on their shoulder and they abuse women. This represents the protection of women, the spirituality of women, the purity of women, the reproduction of women, the portal into life of women. The very scary diamond shape you see on my hand, the 4 grandmothers, the 2 grandmothers, 2 grandfathers who make your mother, 2 grandfathers who make your father. These 2 come together. When these 4 are together, there is the door into life itself. Sleeping with a woman is accessing this diamond-shaped space, and you need a conversation with the ancestors to who have brought this door into your hands. It's illegal, therefore, to sleep with a woman unless you have had a conversation with those that are with you. That's why in Shona we say, Mangwanani, Mamukase, Makadi, Mawoko, Salimonani. I don't see you, I see them who have brought you to me and who have access into the very portal of life. I need a conversation with those that have brought you into space. That's why many people, particularly men, are dying It's because they are ministering in temples where they are not allowed.
Temples.
They're ministering in sanctuaries where they are not allowed. Gentlemen, women are a graveyard. You either have a womb or it's a tomb.
That's a shot, right?
Dubura food in front.
Okay, Elder, I'm trying to manage my time because I know you have to go and people have so many questions for you. I'm going to throw random words at you and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Artificial hair.
Why must I sleep with an artificial hair woman when I can get the original? Peruvian hair, Indian hair. Why must I bother? I can find an Indian girl. So why must I look for you who is artificial Indian hair when I can find the Indian herself? For crying out loud. So keep it real.
And you see, the people who are clapping actually have Peruvian.
No, it's fine. And again, I don't want anyone to feel bad. This is an educational space. We are learning, we are growing. I'm not intending to make anyone feel less. The more information you have, the better decisions you will make.
Okay. Gay rights. Gay rights. Gay rights. What are your thoughts?
How can it be legal for men to sleep with men and it's illegal for polygamy?
Got a shot?
No,
it's slowly. I think not slowly.
Gay rights. I saw the chart the other day on the internet. The chart of gay rights. Kune heterosexual. Ndimi opposite side. Uku side kune metrosexual. Kuita bisexual. Kuita what sexual. Kuita lesbian, kuita bestiality, kuita hey, chati lachi ndakari una ndakati mwari mune basa. Mwari mune basa rakawanda kugadzira vanhu nokuti it's complex. So when you talk about gay rights, the question is that what the African is looking for or is what the European is looking for in Africa?
Because I know you got into trouble at some point.
I was arrested for that.
In South Africa?
In South Africa for the Human Rights Commission. And my position is simple and straight. And I will not mix my words with any one of you. Take 100 men and women that are gay. Put them on this island. Take 100 men and 100 women that are bisexual. Put them on this island. Come back here in 30 years and 50 years. This will be a graveyard. Here, there's life. So don't get me confused in this social media, public opinion. Heterosexual is the center of life. This is where life is. I support life. These are alternative lifestyles. I call it entertainment.
Because there's no reproduction.
They are not right. These are not rights. Because one day they are homosexual, the other day they have children this side, the other day they want to adopt children this side and move them this side. Come on. And I wonder why not gay boys just go and get lesbians pregnant and make their own children on that side? Why come to the heterosexual side and you want to move children from here to this whole arrangement? And I'm not confused. What Europe and America wants to do for Africans, I don't think it protects the core, and the core is the family. I stand here today to say it is still okay for a man to marry a woman and have children and build homes and allow life to continue. I cannot, in the sanity of my head, begin to talk about this department, which then destroys. Because even gay people are born from heterosexual. Hello? Hello? Hey, I am this, I don't know who I am, I'm trapped in this body and what, with all the fanciness around it. But at the end of the day, we needed a mother and a father to bring you here. So we cannot make laws out of the problems of the community. Yes, because of diet. Yes, because of medicines. Yes, because of vaccinations. The estrogens, testosterone, they are now becoming imbalanced in the children that we are bringing forth. They are not normal children. They are no longer normal children. It cannot be that you've been in contraception for the past 20 years. The day you get pregnant, you think that you're bringing forth a natural child. There will be bound to be imbalances in terms of their hormonal composition with a female genitalia, but with a masculine expression. We need to understand that the problem is not homosexual and gay rights. The issue is welfare of humanity. Are we still giving birth to children or are giving birth to animals? Are these human beings? And the worst amongst you women of the 21st century, oops, I missed my period. Like oops. Oops.
Okay.
You did not even know. And let me go back on that one as I'm concluding on that one. A girl child is pregnant. I'm going back to the past. A girl child starts her period. The aunt and the mother, they call them. Go to the kraal, collect cow dung. Come and clean up the mess. She mixes her blood with the cow dung. She is the wealth of the family. She will protect that with her morality. Underline that. Then they put a red bead, first one, on her waistline. Boom. Second day, boom. Third day, boom. Fourth day, boom. Seventh day, mommy, how is it? No, it's getting better now. Then they put the orange as she's thinning up. Oh, mommy, it has stopped. Then they put the white. You are now clean, like my sister. Then 7 days later, they put on the green. You are now ovulating again. Boom, 4 weeks is done. And she has a sexuality on her waistline to control her production line. Polygamy must be understood correctly, because the woman has no use for a man except on the white space when she is clean. The rest of the 21 days, turu. And a woman would then invite a man into her space for the purposes that she wanted. Women controlled their sexuality. This whole thing of yours of sleeping with men 28 days a month, even getting tablets to stop periods so that you can go on a date. It can't be right by morning, by day, by night. That sex has become kingpin of running relationships. Go that shit.
And these days, Vargus Vita last.
Miriam Kanye, Miriam Bobote, man. And when you look into our ancient knowledge systems, again, within the gospel space that I'm writing, it is downloading all this data. And I'm not just saying it to you as mothers and fathers that you should get offended. But I'm saying this to you so that as a parent, you'll have something that you can share with your children to preserve ourselves as Africans.
Polygamy was next, but did you address it? What are your thoughts on polygamy? What comes to mind?
Oh, polygamy?
Yeah, polygamy.
Abraham Ongane 4, 3, 4, Jacob Bogaita 4, 5, David Agata 8, Bakazoguma 70, Solomon Agata 700, Bagata 300. Apana Bible Mose in the Old Testament where monogamy is discussed as an issue. But Let me mention it so that it's on record. Women don't marry men. Women marry an estate. The issue of polygamy is not how many women does the man have. How many women does the man have? The question is, does a woman have a husband?
Did they get
And
that?
if you can only work with your husband here on the white, what must he do on the 21 days when he's away from you? Munofarira kuminya mapirisi enyu shanga dzamatanga kumwaizi vana vamurenga duduze kudu muchimwa mapirisi. And you think that you can run your homes based on a white hegemony. I am betting, I promise you, it's a short-lived honeymoon. The side effects of these medications, you will live the rest of your lives paying for the debts of not becoming naturally punctuated. That's why many women are struggling today and many homes are in trouble, because women are out of timing. Come on. Women are out of Bible rozodiro sunga izvivuno zvenyu nechokwadi. Sunga chivuno nechokwadi. Zvinorevechi, fasten up your waistlines with truth. With truth. Women are the problem. Why? You give birth to children that you don't know. You give birth to children, you don't know their fathers. You give birth to children, you give them the wrong fathers. You mess up. Pressure food. The whole community is confused. Even now, when we are talking about ancestral calling, lots of young people, hey, ndanomweya, hey, ndinamashikiro, hey, ndinamdzimu, hey, hakuna midzimu. Mashavi nenamo yokutsvaka kuti baba vangu ndiani. It's sick of identity. And where does this sit? It sits on your loins. As women, sungai zvivuno zvenyu nechokwadi. And hence I said it again, that virginity and purity of women is the spirituality of the community. Nyangoteita zvechikaranga duro racho haringobikwika. Tinototsvaka vasikana vasina kumbovatana vakomana. Handizve here uku.
Shadaya.
Kashadai uriko here tototsvaka vasikana vasati vambovata nechi ndovanotochera mvura chembere dzinobika hadziaindi kumwedzi. And the whole African spirituality sits on the purity of women. And I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate about how can we reproduce the girl child and put them at the center. This whole patriarchal story we hear about, hey, men are this, men are providers, men are what, that's rubbish. The spirituality of a community sits on a woman. These are our doors into life. If I fail to say anything on your show, I would have said it. Kuchena nobuchene nenduramo nokuzvibata kwavanhu vechidzimai ndobugaro hwedu sevanhu vatema. Tikarasha kuchena kwavasikana vedu, we defile them through rape, we defile them through teenage pregnancies, and we don't. When we are doing these things as men, we're actually destroying the fundamental cause of our own community and spirituality.
Okay, and lastly, feminism.
Toxic feminism is poisonous. Toxic masculinity is poisonous. The world is safer when women are in power. And if we had more women presidents, wars would stop. And I think men are more adventurous, men are more into war and fighting, and I love that question of feminism. Women cleansed their men. Still today, a woman cleanses her men. Come on, put your hands for that. Put your hands for that. A woman cleanses her men, absorbs all the energy, negative and positive, and she gives him a release. Oh, Taura elder. And gives the man a relief from his stress. Women are portals of men's survival. Feminism, women are cleansers. When men used to go to war in the olden days, it's women who prepared them for war. And when men came back from war, it's women who cleansed them. 3 weeks, the men will be sitting at the side of a river. The women prepare the herbs and detox them. Dubai zoya zvinyanga zviya zvamunoverenga mukuma internet zvaibayira muhuro zvibayira kumusana suctions. Now they're coming as technologies. Stress relief. Go and do some research to remove the animalistic side of a man. Munenda kuondoka unoita muka ukabaya munebanga uchinanzwa uchibaya uri muka haungadzoki kubva kuhondo uya undovata nomudzimai wako idemon rauri kuproduce. So women would then return these men back into space. Olden women, feminism, women would take seeds and put them on themselves before plantation. Women would take seeds and put them under their tongues. Because they were literally putting their DNA into agriculture. The land is unfertile because men are planting. The real farmers are women. That's why land is a woman. Land is not masculine. Land is feminine. And women would mother earth. That's where, and when you remove women from agriculture and you do commercial agriculture, you are losing the spirituality of land itself. Because land and women are synonyms. So if you are talking about feminism, I would say to all men, let's fight for land more than fighting for women.
Okay. You also famously said the other time, liberation heroes are not economic heroes. I want you to talk to me about that. You are a known supporter of ZANU-PF. Is that right?
I should ask you the same question. You want to support it?
You are known.
What are you known for?
I'm unknown.
On public
but
media.
You are known.
On public media, what do you support?
I support progress.
Okay. You go party on progress and
I support any progressive.
Don't put me on the spot. No problem in your fan of interview. No,
Elder. And I cannot be known to support any party. I can't be known to support any party. But you are known to support the ruling party.
I don't support ZANU-PF. I don't support CCC. I don't support MDC. I support the nation.
Okay.
National politics is beyond party politics. Parties come and go. Okay. The land and its people will remain here.
Yeah. So,
and anyone who seeks to develop the people, improve infrastructure, build roads, hospitals. If I put it on public media, by the way, Kanachamisa Gawaka Bridge, I will publicly go and say, well done. Kanaga Gazira power station, I will go and say, well done. Mariza tinongo wama million na wano collector kuti wakambo gazira rinyangwe chirugu chehuku a chicken run. I'm not I'm not exaggerating, and I hope you'll hear it with the honesty that it's coming from.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that for the past 20, 30 years where MDC, CCC, I don't know what is the another C now that is there, could all along as a party, you can't have been seen to do one small initiative for the community. And you want me to support that? No. My father, this will become emotional. My father was a Secretary General for ZANU-PF in Ichirezi, 1974, 75, 76. And he was captured by the Smith regime. And he was arrested. And he ended up at Buffalo Range prison. And he was put on death row. I spent years. My mother every Sunday would ride to the prison to give my father food. And I wondered, what system is this that is taking my father from me? And I'm a young boy, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. My political world changed because I experienced the insensitivity of a colonial system on my own parents. You come around and you toss a joke. You seem to be a supporter of ZANU-PF. I don't support ZANU-PF. I support liberation. And he was on death row, 79. He was released. But between then, I had seen fellow students from Bigita, Tugi, Westland, where the war was bitter. Students were hung on wires on a helicopter, and with microphones in their hands, they would shout to us, if you decide to go to war, this is what we will do to you. I saw my classmates hanging on helicopters. I experienced that. I dragged uncles into shallow graves. I experienced that. I don't think you have an idea of what you're talking about. I don't think you have the slightest idea of what you're talking about. I'm not interested in politics. This is my life. Traumatized. Sorry for shedding tears on a podcast first time, but yeah. But this is my experience. This is my experience. This is what the system has made me to be. This is what I have become. And you talk to me about politics? This is not politics to me. This is my life. I don't want ever to be asked again, who do I support, who do I what? As if we're a groupie little thing, you're there, you're here, you're there, you support this, I just support that. It's entertainment for you guys to get t-shirts and get some few caps. No. The land and the people will be here after all politics is gone. What do? We need to build our land and its people, protect our heritage for the next generation, remove colonial structures of governance, of business, of education, etc. Get get rid of these things, get back to ourselves. Chinese are doing it. Singapore is doing it. United Emirates is doing it. And they're not democratic, but they are successful. The question, what can we do as Africans to find ourselves and also find our reason for existence and find a method that works for ourselves? And I think this is where we're missing it. Because the same men that colonized you cannot come back to you and tell you how to become free. You need democracy to be free. Tell me the Great Zimbabwe was built by democracy. Tell me the pyramids of Giza were built by democracy. Tell me that you call your wife when you're about to make your children and you inform them that I'm going to make your mother pregnant. Who is in favor? Can I see you by a raising of hands? Those who are in agreement. How can you practice things in government that you can't even practice at home? This is altogether a waste of time for me to be talking about colonial liberation strategies that are being given to us by the same people that colonized us. I will say this, and I know it will go down hard. We, the Africans, taught the white men freedom. Because when we became liberated, we gave them democracy, which they were able also to exist as human beings. They could not do that for themselves. That's why we went to war. We were not liberating ourselves only. We also liberated them from their own system. And here we are. Here we are. There's a white man there. Here we are. He can walk freely in a country amongst the people that his grandfathers and his cousins could have abused. But nothing will happen to him. That's freedom. And if anyone should come around and begin to lecture an African about freedom and democracy, I think we need to start running seminars in Europe of what human respect is all about, what living in harmony is all about, what respecting other people is all about. Politics is a playfield of poor people. It's entertainment for the poor. The rich people make money.
Thank you. And finally, Elder, before we open it to the floor, the ANC and the DA got into an alliance. You've been in South Africa for a big chunk of your life. What are your thoughts on that coalition?
A man kills your mother, a man rapes your sister, then the same man wants to come and become your partner and say, let's sleep in the same house together. You're okay with that? No, I'll give you a more gore illustration for young ladies out there. A man comes to you, kidnaps you, and he rapes you, and then a few days later, you have that same man as a housemate, living in the same house. Will you be able to go to the bathroom with a towel around your breast, knowing that your rapist is next door? I'm using these illustrations so that in your processing, you can understand the trauma to the liberation. By all means possible, it can be that the people that colonized us can have solutions of how to uncolonize us. The people that abused us cannot teach us how to unabuse us. You can't have the abuser himself, the rapist, as your psychiatric. Are you following me? The same man comes around, you go to hospital for psychiatric treatment, and the same man is your doctor to help you how to heal. I think that's double trauma. It doesn't happen like that. And DA and ANC, I think that's a marriage made in hell.
Yeah, that's a clear enough answer. Thank you. And now I think we're at a point where we can open up. Do we have a microphone? Okay, all right. Do we have our first question for Elder Maponga? Who's that? There's something wrong with the mic?
There's this guy here.
Or Shada? Is there... you have a question for?
There's someone here. This gentleman.
Yeah, here. Bako Media, over here.
Hello. I wanted to ask, you've expressed your views on Christianity and everything. I wanted to know if you practice Zunu Zwechivano, like the Butes, the Kubikadoro, Mashavi, and so on. We've seen like your views on Christianity. I want to know what you think on, what's your viewpoint on Chivano as a religion or as a way of life?
Munu na vanhu. Chinonzi munhu, vunhu, kurarama, kubatanidza zvaunofema, zvaunomwa, nezvaunodla. Spirituality in terms of African space is how you relate to the water, to the land, and to the air that you breathe. Iwe pauri papo, vunhu, kuziva kuti mhepo yandinofema inobvepi, sadza randinodla rinobvepi, mvura yandinomwa inobvepi. Do I pollute these things or do I make them better? I don't want us to get caught in this artificial conversation of ancestral beliefs and practices which are locked up in your religious definition. You must be practicing something. No, you must be living. You must be living. And by living, you must respect the soil. You must respect the water. You must respect the air. So yes, I practice living. I practice living. When I enter spaces, I'm aware. That's consciousness. So I don't need to go to a religious place, cook some beer, and throw it in the air. No, I live. Because marrying is spiritual. Eating is spiritual. Rites of passage is spiritual. Death is spiritual. African spirituality simply means that when you are experiencing life, be aware of what you are doing as you are doing it. Be present. So if your definition, and I can hear where you are sitting, if your definition of trying to put me in another box and say, let's remove the Chivano and say Maponga is living. He is living. He is aware. When I shake your hand, I'm aware. When you give me water to drink, I'm aware. When I go to the graveyard, I'm aware. When I enter the forest, I'm aware of what is happening. And should there be rituals, you, as a Christian, you say, spiritual. Come with me. Ritual. So rituals are the diet of the spirit that is in you. So there's no one amongst us here who can say they are Christian and they are a spiritual person and you don't do rituals. Rituals are the diet of the spirit. It's being spiritual and being conscious, I think, is the answer you're looking for. How do you live a spiritual life without performing the rituals that feed into your spirit? I think on another day we can pick it up from there.
Was that a yes or a no, Elder? Elder, you speak in riddles. You know, you're like the elders from back in the day.
Kana wakura kamfana unopindura mvunzo
Pachikuru.
uchipindura mvunzo kuti munhu wavunza awe kuti uri kuti kudii iye wavunza mvunzo wawisisa iwe une problem kana no mvunzo wako vunza wako. Did you understand what I said?
Yes, I did.
Did you not understand?
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Next one.
The other day, someone was asking me, we were in Ashadai, you are in the same WhatsApp group. So maybe this is my first time to meet you, and it will be very interesting to...
First and foremost, I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here, for teaching us. I am a big fan of everything that you teach. Yes. And when you said, when you came here, you dressed that way to actually
frustrate.
I'm in support of that. Have you observed that we are so much uncomfortable with our own African way, be it in dressing, be it in art or anything? I've observed something. When you go to the homes of the rich, black people, you most likely find a piano, you find a guitar, you find even a trumpet. Why not put a marimba? Why not put ngoma? Mbira. Why not put that? Why are we so uncomfortable with being Africans? Let's say even artworks. People don't have any problem putting Tudoritwa Father Christmas as chivezwa, something that resembles something that we identify in African culture. Chinonzi madimon achite kuisa mumba. Why? So for me, I am very much grateful for you for trying to show us that there is nothing demonic about being African. We should be proud about being African. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And just maybe to add one line on what you have already outlined, it is, and all of us must be aware, within the reach of my voice, anyone who will sit down to watch this video, you need to do introspect. Because colonization lives as long as the colonized support it. So you must be colonized first, then you use your money to support the colonial system. You eat the diet, you listen to the music, you watch the movies, you live the life. Your world view. Only now can I speak and maybe you'll understand me. Why cartoons are so important. Entertainment for children. Because once you are able to put those cartoons, you have an opportunity of writing on the mindsets of the young children. What beauty is, what ugly is, what white is, what black is, what righteousness is, what evil is, what prosperity is, what failure is. And by the time children finish Casper and the Friendly Ghost, Tinky Winky, they finish up Tom and Harry and John, etc., they've learned already how to revenge, how to fight, how to identify what is right, what is wrong, and etc. So these minds, by the time you go to primary school, black and white, bring in high school, Charlemagne, Julius Caesar, university, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, your ideology of what success is. The path has already been championed in your mind. And you cannot do anything. I graduated and I went into debt and it took me 4 years to pay back the debt. When I graduated, I went to Edgar's. I was working in Skombingo and Gweru. My degree, I went to Edgar's those years, 1991. Went to Edgar's, went to Woolworths, Nana, Raphael's, presented my documents. They gave me debt. You can buy clothes. And I was hot those days. I was hot, yeah? If some of you young ladies had seen me then, I don't think you would have survived. I was hot. We dressed the part and we looked the part. But I'm telling you that the debt that I went into took me 4 years to clear up that debt. Why did I get into debt? Because I already from university had an idea of what a successful graduate must look like. Maburubana Michael Jackson, the country we shouldn't get a pombi because check out good. But you have already you already in your mindset have a world view of what must I look like. And I went all out to buy, to fit into the image which had been placed in my mind to who I should look like. And so when you come around, I really, with all due respect and respect, understand that the colonization of the African is big business. Come on. Colonization is, you are going to buy pizza. You are going to go for a white wedding, even if you cannot afford it. You are going to get a ring, even if you can't afford it. You are going to get a white dress for your wife, even if you can't afford it. Because the system and the environment, dress white. This thing is serious. Even our mothers have been colonized to such an extent that they will not allow their baby girl to leave their house without putting on a white dress. Now, when I get angry sometimes, you hear the same women. I don't do culture. I don't do culture. Oh, wow. You don't do culture. The next day, yeah, we're going to have a white wedding. Oh, wow. So is white wedding not white culture? Which part? Around of it. It's not corner. Which part of this don't you understand? If you don't do culture, then why are you doing white culture? Why are you putting on a ring on your fingers? Why are you putting on white clothes? Why are you putting on white dresses? Why are you organizing a white wedding? Why is the pastor praying for you and etc.? And you say, I don't do culture. You don't understand all this, that it is white culture. The brainwashing of the African, we need to start a vigorous program. And I hope this podcast will go far and wide into an introduction into the decolonization project. How do we decolonize ourselves as Africans? Don't expect the continent to change. You, as an individual, start changing. Change the way you eat. Change the way you dress. Change the way you heal your body. Change the way you bury your ancestors. Change the way you practice. Change. You. Do that. So don't wait for us. You're a public figure. You must be seen to be doing this. I insulted the other guy on the internet the other day. Hey, Maponga, we're expecting you to condemn ZANU-PF. Hey, we're expecting you. Go to hell and with your mother-in-law. Why asking me to do it? Do it yourself. This is what you must do. Why the hell are you telling him what you must? Hey, you must start addressing Gukura Hundi. Do it yourself. I'm not your sacrificial lamb that has come from the past and I must here to accomplish your thing and say, yeah, Maponga did it. We need to start working as Africans, and decolonization is a personal project that all of us must be interested. And I'm so glad to be talking to all of you, because all the children that will come after this conversation will not be the same. And if I've been able to achieve that in my lifespan, I think my life would have been worth a living.
Right. Okay, next question.
I have a question. I'm very interested in your decolonization project.
Are you talking low, or is she connected back home?
Me?
Okay, cool.
Okay, I'm very interested in your decolonization project. I specifically wanted to know what your strategy is when it comes to the mental colonization, which still has like long-lasting effects today among a Zimbabwean setting.
Thank you. Very, very important and deep question. We're dealing with a process that has brought us here 400 years later. And it has been consistent. It is a timetable. It is a weekly program. It is educational institutions. It is structures. You are born, what's your ID? What's your birth certificate? What's your what? And we all have been flowing into this system. My calling is not small. It's a huge task. How do we undo what has been done for the past 400 years? And I'm only going to be with you here for about 70 years or 8 years. And I'm gone. So the strategy has to do with understanding the colonial system first, in terms of the infrastructure around the colonization process itself. and we begin to think of creating a parallel structure of decolonization. This includes, in my biggest dreams, setting up birth centers where our children will be born naturally. That's a whole curriculum on its own. Giving birth to children is not a disease. Animals do it every day. Dogs, even 16, at one go. So it can be more complicated than just delivering children. Immunization of those children. On another day, you must invite me. I want to argue. Why do you spend 9 months in your mother's womb and yet you celebrate your birthday every 12 months?
Okay. Okay. So birthday should be 9 months.
I'm not saying. I'm asking you. Because if your life cycle is 9 months, so it means that every year you are stealing an extra 3 months. And so how old are you is the next question. But look at it. Look at it like this. Because institutions have already produced you to say I'm 20 years old. Based on what? Based on the 12-month cycle. But the 12-month cycle is based on what? That there are 12 months in a year. But how come if a month is 28 days and 4, 28, 52 weeks, then where is the other 13th month that we are losing in the calculation? More African spirituality then tells you that we actually as Africans have 13 months. So maybe the Ethiopian calendar is right. We're still in 2013. Even if the whole world thinks we're in 2024. But if you should... What are we going to be doing? I think my calling is to avail information. People must start including training institutions, agricultural projects, indigenous foods, traditional living. I love that part. But it's not just traditional housing. Oh, ndingando bati remember mimba yakatsugwana ndowe. Toda kubata mimba yetaskeni. No, sit down. Study the science of our indigenous knowledge. Get the elements that are in the indigenous and then modernize them. So I find nothing wrong with you mixing Ndove, Yengombe, Desamende to make a new product which can be used actually for doing plastering and etc. Because that becomes an insulator, it becomes what they call it in English, it becomes a fumigation, it also becomes immunization, where the bush itself and the minerals and the grass that is in the community is able to live with you. I mean, who needs an aircon in a house that is thatched? It cools off in heat, it warms up in winter. How can our academic students visit indigenous technologies and then harvest those technologies and then modernize them? Hey, Chinyakare, Maponga anotibati tidzoke tinofeka madende, tidzoke tinofeka mateuke. We can't go back there. Oh, welcome to the party, except you also going to buy a leather jacket, and there's nothing wrong with it. You're putting on leather shoes, there's nothing wrong with it. You're putting on a leather belt, there's nothing wrong with it. But you don't understand what is the difference, what is the science of leather clothing. This cloth that you see me putting on here, it's from Uganda. It's from Uganda. This is made out of trees. It's bark cloth, they call it. Makavi omuti. And I'm putting it on such a rugged way. But wait until one of you guys who are designers are able to get the same materials and begin to develop our own fashion and couture. Where are we missing it? Because other people are making money out of our misinformation. And we think that if it is Louis Vuitton, if it is Gucci, it is right. Until you discover that our own culture is equally technologically advanced. The weakest link are you, the educated youth, who have not taken our culture. This is mud cloth. from Gambia, and from Mali. Why can't this be fashionable? And Louis Vuitton is fashionable. Imi chinyakare, chenyu, maipekei. You go back there, you'll find that the clothes that our ancestors used to put on, they were culturally correct, environmentally correct. They were healthy clothing. Young ladies, be careful. These pads that you put on yourself, these underwears that you put on yourself, these bras you put on yourself, manufactured by the Chinese, with silicone inside those things. When you sweat, your sweat goes into those bras, the silicone goes into your systems, the pads that you are using, and etc. And you wonder, why are there so many diseases? And someone is making money out of your ignorance. Our history is our institution. But I can't do that alone, madam. I can't. I only have one lifespan. And until I begin to gather and meet with friends of your stature, and someone comes and says, how can we help you? Otherwise, I'm going to end my life as an academic institution of sharing information, and I will check out also and go where my forefathers are. But I will have done my part. We all have a part to play on the decolonization project. I thank you.
Any other question? Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, hello guys. Sorry from changing the atmosphere. As a political science student, we always have questions for how to change the nation and how best can we move forward. So from your biography, you are into social entrepreneurship. So my question is, leveraging social enterprise model to enhance water security in refugee settlements. It's actually a personal question.
Water security and refugees.
Leveraging social enterprise models to enhance water security in refugee settlements.
I feel like you want to do a research on me for your term paper, you know? But it's fine, it's fine. Because I can't, water security and refugees, am I the only one who picked it up, or you also failed it?
I was going to understand it from your answer if you were to provide one.
I'm still going to answer him. It's okay. It's okay.
Sorry, before I answer that, I actually have a research. Probably in the next 2 weeks, I'll be...
You get my number.
Okay.
We can do that. But then for the purpose of the recording, okay, I'll assist. That water security is land ownership. And without ownership of land, you don't have the Department of Forestry, Department of Housing, Department of Agriculture, Department of Forestry, Department of Water. Because land itself is where your water that you are looking for is sitting. Water is in the skies. Maybe the question will be, how do we harvest the rain? The water is in the rivers. How do we utilize? And in the dams. The water is in the sea. How do we create businesses out of those kind of spaces? So again, us understanding the 70% of water that is on the earth and the 70% of water that is in our bodies, how do we link up with the 70% element that makes us survive as human beings? So it's a big question, it's a big research, which will cover quite a variety of spaces in terms of power and authority and ownership over the means of production, preservation, and harvesting of that resource. Refugee concept, political refugees, economic refugees, tribal refugees, clan cleansing, and etc. There are various aspects that cause people to migrate from their spaces and seek for refuge in other countries. But again, within the African context, we cannot call that refugees. Because if a person in Harare runs to Bulawayo, he can't be a refugee until you put a border in Berlin Conference, which divides Bulawayo in the Gaborone. Then when you jump over, you become a refugee. So even the word itself we are using as refugee, I think it's foreign to African ideology. We are looking simply at people moving around spaces and living together, and when there is a problem, people being able to freely move without the political immigration constrictions that we are mentioning. So combining water and refugees, that's difficult. So I'm thinking maybe refugees must cross rivers as they are doing in Sudan and they are doing in Libya, trying to cross waters to go wherever they are going. But I think we can have a conversation on another day to parallel your research nicely. I thank you.
Okay. Right.
She reminds me of my old girlfriend, this one, yeah?
Oh, that's my wife.
That's your wife?
Yeah.
The looks of it, I mean, no, not her. I'm not saying she's my girlfriend.
Maponga Mara-Rah, I just wanted to thank you for doing the Lord's work. My problems I don't necessarily have a question for you, and they don't understand. I'm glad you mentioned the spirituality of bringing two families together. And I think and the fathers are not really, and the mothers doing their work. So I'm just trying to push Ramataura. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, feminism. And I think that feminism is something that is foreign to us as Africans. And why I'm saying that is because inini baba ndewe Malawi, amai Zambia, ambuya na sekuru amai vangu Mozambique, and Chisutu, my great grandmother from my father's side. And ekwese ikoko hatina chinonzi feminism because there is respect for us as women. There's something growing up, there's something special about you that should be preserved. There was something special about my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmothers. Feminism is for white women who are trying to fight rights. As African women, we've always had rights. We've always had a voice. And I just wanted to remind every woman in here, Joshua voice Tagara, so thank you again for speaking into what we've always known. I think people just need a push for that to be ignited. So thank you.
I want to congratulate Mkanya. You married well, Mkanya. Put your hands together. Did you marry the woman that loves you, or you married the woman that you loved?
But we're not going to touch Yango Mdara because we're going to looks like
there's a Mkanyarism here. Yeah, but on the issue of marriage, again, when we are talking about African spirituality, we need to understand the commercialization of marriages and how that has actually worked to destroy the establishment of homes. They can't afford. Because the women that are now available, when you want to marry them, half time, but in the kuchechi, it doesn't matter demoni, you look into that whole space and you wonder, you don't pay lobola, you just buy a ring. But no, African culture has been intoxicated. I went through that space myself. I got married 3 times. One was the traditional space. When I went to the family, did the traditional thing. And I thought I was done. No, you are not yet married. The church is waiting. You didn't went to church. Dun, 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 we went through that dream. And then I thought I was married. No, you're not yet married. The magistrate is also waiting for you to sign the final paper. So, and you look into that whole financial burden for a young man who wants to get married. And madam, they can't afford it. Let's also agree at the onset. But when you come back to our culture, if you wanted to get married and you do not have means to get married, no problem, I have nothing. The father would give you a bush. Gombo. Chera gombo mfan. Rowa gombo rako. Uproot the trees. Plant for the year. Harvest for the year. Look after the cattle. At the end of that year, all the calves that have been born under your guardianship and the harvest that you have, the father will take some, the rest he'll give it to you. Then ask you the question, do you want to stay here or you want to take your wife and go? So even the issue of affordability in our African culture is not an issue because we had systems to do that. But immediately we started putting dollars and rands next to marriages, it created a huge problem. And at the end of the day, when a child is at university, you think they're at university. They're not at university. They're in a marriage. What happens in the dormitories? Oh, and you speak, you look at me and you laugh like I was not at university. I'm speaking from knowledge. I was there. I know exactly what happens in the dormitories where boys and girls are living together, where they are cooking for each other, where vanotita 3 to 4 to 5 divorces. 3 to 4 to 5 divorces. They're at school. And then when they finally want to get married, hey, you want lobola. My most painful illustration is an old man, which I will always share. Baz rasumuka kuva ku Bed Bridge. Mapinda vanhu mubhazi. Vanhu vazara mubhazi. Vanodla, vanomwa doro ravo. Rusika yokera panyuwa netsi. Mapinda vamwe burukai, pindai. Ramanya rasika pangundu. Vayana maheu, nomukumbi. Vamwe vanomwa vanorutsa. Rusika masvingo. Wigi dzavo newivi. Mawindo vaputira pamvuma. Naro bhazi. Hiro rasvika pambudzi pasvika passenger ndikumbira kupinda bhazi ka chef munobhadhara full trip kubva ku Bed Bridge kupindamo Harare. How? Ende vamwe vatogara mubhazi vari kuti hatiburuki, waona tiri pano. Uyawo wazopinda pokupesa kati ndokumbira achipinda obhadhara full price from Bed Bridge to Harare. Iye akwirira bhazi pambudzi. Ndapindawo mubhazi muno vanoburuka kuti kumbira muburukevo ndichitsvaira bhazi. Vamwe vanoburuka, vasingaburuka, vadi kuburuka. Utora mvura yake mukomana, ungaita musikana, utanga kutsvaira, utanga kupukuta mawindo, utanga kudini. I cannot go further in that illustration. Respect the last passenger. Respect the last passenger, because the last passenger knows the value of the bus. They are willing to clean up the bus. They are willing to make it habitable. They are willing to give it the respect that it needs. And respect the last passenger. And if I can be more arrogant than that, if everyone was riding for free, why must I pay lobola? Shaddai. Don't Shaddai again. Vaja inango vaepuru rarumwa ukura rarumpango chitambo chiya pamusoro chitambo chiya chitenga rose uchi kuti uchiza kuti banana rangosviniwa kuti rava juicy hazviwisisiki kuti banana iri ndinodini aro, but the last passenger always suffers. And I think the best gift, I think I said this on the other show, the best gift you can give to yourself is yourself. give yourself as the best gift to yourself. So issues of virginity and purity have nothing to do with the person that you're going to be marrying. It has to do with yourself. What are you bringing to your table? Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Remember thy Creator in the days of thy youth, before the days of evil come nigh, when you shall say, I have no pleasure in them. How do you lose pleasure in that which you have been pleasuring yourself with prior to the pleasure that is now in front of you? It means that if you waste yourself in immorality, in debauchery, in licentiousness, when the moment comes when you must finally benefit from that which you have been abusing, you may not have energy to enjoy it. Wozivanganyura. Presa ruviri. Wozivanganyura. Wasvika pamucheto uta ndozvina ndakamirira. Vasikana vanourika pawindow uchinovatana vasikana kuma next door nokuti chokuba chinonaka ka. Mangwana makuseni uzomuka makuseni. He is the woman is now in your bed. Ndo wamsoro. Msana wangu unogwadza. Not tonight, my baby. What's wrong? You have wasted yourself. Now an opportunity is now here. That which you were chasing after, it's now here. Enjoy it. Panogwadza nei ndo problem yamaapura nanga rumwa fosonga pongosara chitambo.
Okay, so how many more questions, Elder? Looking at the time, because I know you have
2-3 questions, and I think we're fine.
Yeah, 2-3 more questions.
Yeah, greetings, Mkanya. Yeah, I bow.
Move.
I bow. No, I'm Nyandoro.
Ndindoro.
Yeah. My question is, I got 2 questions, right?
Make it one.
One, all right. The first one, okay. The question is, you talked about Zimu and one identity crisis. So I want to relearn and unlearn from you, Master. What's Mudzimu, what's Shavi, and what's Manjuzu? I've been hearing, especially in the past years, Manjuzu this, Manjuzu that, Mashavi and Zimu. I don't know. I want to relearn from you.
Number one, before you start the whole issue of ancestral conversation, I think that's a program on its own where we can get into details. But before you start tempering, Ninyadza Masvikiro, Nemidzimu, Mashavi, Manjusu, what? Look at my fingers, young people, and learn. Know your history. Know your roots, maternal. Know your roots, paternal. Know how you come into existence. Don't take a calling which is ancestral and you don't know who is coming through. Munovunganidza Mashavi norushambwa nenamo. Muchiri kwanda vana mudzimu. Ndokubvunza kuti mudzimu wani. Ndava neshavi. Ishavi rani? Ndinomweya. Mweya wani? Ndakapuwa homwe nambuya. Mbuya vapi? Before you get enticed into the spiritual, African spirituality, I will say it loud and clearly. Personal identity is important. Visit the graves of your forefathers and your grandfathers. Understand the manifestation of yourself in your previous self. Mudzi umu. Mudzi root umu inside. Mudzi mu inside the root. Mudzi ndimai inside your mother is the root of your existence. And understanding where you are coming from will assist you in terms of championing a path into this ancestral space. In Indri, not buying your face. I'm from the royal family of Soshe. Manafuzi Jen. Una Shoko, Wana Mbiri, Wana Nduma, Wana Nokwara, Wana Diriri, Wana Chapinduka, Wana Fumojena. I'm there. I don't need to try to convince you. I know who I am. At the end of the day, when you hear a voice of a king speaking, something in your spirit moves because it is entrenched within me. And that's who I am. And if you don't know yourself, you will imbibe and borrow spirits that will convince you and confuse you. Mudzimu. There's a spirit that speaks to the family. Shikiro. You can go to an external person who can then be able to have access to your ancestral lineages and tell you what's happening there. Domre becomes the tribal, clan, ancestral connection. And that connects the individual to the family, to the clan, to the nation. So they're all different varieties, from Mudzimu to Shikiro to Dombre and Magombre and stuff like that. But don't confuse yourself. You don't need to torture yourself with that information. What you need is, who am I? How do I come to be here? Look on your left, look on your right. And if you can do yourself a favor and just get these 8 pieces together. Vaneda Rich Karanga, here we start. On the left, my grandmothers on my mother's side. On the right, my grandmothers on my father's side. Behind me, my grandfathers on my mother's side. In front of me, my grandfathers on my father's side. Dimana Masisiwa, Manjuzu, Wanambedzi, Dimana Tembo, Wanambonam, Chishongo Chavaskana, Dimana Svanda, Wanamgonyama, Wanatau, Shatonga Shulali Tambo, Dimana Mkanya, Wanasosha. You need to create that compass.
Okay.
Next
question. Because the elder answer at. All right. Okay.
Okay. I'm actually honored to be in your presence, Elder Maponga. Okay. My question is, you intend to engage in this journey, decolonization. Saka, trukutangarini, and how are we going to initiate this whole thing?
What don't you phone Put your money where your mouth is. Kana mati moda is decolonization. You don't phone it. Where do we start? All of us, there's something that we can do, whether it is in indigenous knowledge, agriculture, fashion, but in innovation and etc. There's a lot, and I think I'm excited, and thank you to DJ Yani.
Denny J, I not DJ.
Denny J. Thank you to Denny J for making this space available, because I think we are able to start mobilizing ourselves. And I hope that this conversation will not just end up as a talk show, but numbers will be collected, emails will be exchanged. And Africans, we have a small issue. We always want someone to do it. But you make money, but you rather give your money to Vodacom to strive from Musiwa and buy airtime and etc. Munagadichisa $10 up. What is people always want people, and someone out there must spend themselves, look for money, and make it work for them. Because Africans want to. I understand you are kings. Yeah, I understand that you are kings. You want to walk in a space readily prepared. You want to walk on the red carpet, where everybody has done everything for you, and all you need is chigaranisha papa. But our situation is so dire, Mkoma. We are wasted. And until someone is willing to put their foot and their money and resources, so resources, someone is to invest in it. And if I can ask you, all of us in the house here, who has given him an extra $100? You are doing well. Airtime. Get some airtime. Get some data. You know, 3 times. If 3 times, bring food here. People just love to be entertained. People won't just come around and say, oh, the quality is good. Hey, the video, what, the picture is what. But what have you done to make sure that this thing which is benefiting you, you will support people that are destroying you. And us who are building you, you demonize us on every given chance. Every given chance. Every day I have to deal with insults. And then everyone is quiet. So it takes time, Baba. I think it will take us an honorable amount of commitment to say, this is what we want, this is what we commit to doing, and this is how we contribute to make sure that it works for all of us. I thank you.
All right, thank you. That's
last question.
Last one. Okay.
Last two. 1, 2.
Yeah, just one question from here. Thank you, Elder. Thank you, Danny. So I wanted to ask Kuti, Elder, hypothetically speaking, as an African continent, as an African people, by observation, we can see that there's a lot of struggle going on. So is there a way for us to tie our liberation from this struggle to actual economic prosperity? If we become liberalized from this whole Christianity thing and everything, and we become an African people, will we then tie that to economic prosperity and us being in a position to live happily as a people? Is there a way that we can tie those two together? I think that's where my question is, Elder.
I love the way you ask. Hypothetically speaking, so I'm going to also give you hypothetically answering. But anyways, it's fine. I think the issue of spirituality, why I delved into that corner, is because within spirituality is the science of land ownership, is the science of owning the means of production, is actually where the land sits. And our land is our spiritual vortex, so to speak. And getting the African back to that space means that the African needs access. And once he has access to that, the resources, the minerals, the water, the land that is already found on the land that is now in their hands, they can be able to transform that into a financial concept. Hence, we always say that political freedom does not guarantee financial freedom. Because financial freedom is a science. Money is a science. Prayer is not an answer to poverty. You need a science. And don't get me started, because I will end up preaching. Elisha has got a student, and the student dies, leaving the wife in debt. And the wife comes around to the Elisha and says, Muranda, when you offer, once the Andrim Chiperit, my children are even going out for slavery. That's, and I wish there were no pastors there that will leave their wives in debt and sell off their children into slavery. But that's not where the story is. Then Elisha says to the woman, go back home. Find your roots. Go back home. Borrow pictures from your neighbors. My neighbors. Close your door. Learn to close your borders to foreign information and influence and economies. Close your doors. China did it for 30 years. What's happening? What's happening? Russia was closed doors. No one was doing business in Russia. When they open their doors now, who are they? What are they doing? But that's not what the story is. Close the door. And as I said, I will get carried away. Close the door. We need as Africans to learn and know how do we close our doors. Then take the little oil that I'm giving you. Pour it into the pitchers. Take the oil. Go and sell. Pay the debts and liberate yourself. By Maponga if you have a commercial economic problem, you need an economic formula. How do you solve poverty? How do you deal with your resources? How do you deal with neighboring countries? How do you begin to pour what you have from one jar to another jar? How do you collect your resources, sell to the market? And how do you pay back your debts? And how do you come back and live a prosperous life? I thought you guys were Christians. You'll be saying amen out there. God says, now here is the real truth.
But Mawatendoza. Mawatendoza. And the last one, let's have the last question.
Okay, Elder. So in a question about African spirituality, actually. So as part of our culture, spirituality, we've always consulted ancestors through my mediums and stuff, kupira mudzimu and all, and seeking for guidance. I just want to ask, as Africans, are we supposed to continue doing that? And I also want to ask how it relates to the Bible, because in the Bible, actually, it's not it's against God's will in the Bible. If we look at the
Mwariwa Abraham, Mwariwa Isaac, Mwariwa Jacob, Mwariwa Elijah. Vapenyere vapenyere.
Avazi, but question yang de pakuti, should we consult them? Because Togonata is an example ya Saul.
No, thank you. I'm with you. I will move fast because my time is...
consult a medium, and he actually got punished by God for that.
No, thank you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think he got it. He'll answer as best as he can.
I will help you, young man.
Okay.
I'll answer you. I will not answer your question.
Okay.
I'll answer you. You are your ancestor.
Okay.
So, full stop. So who are you consulting? Consulting yourself in your previous life and resolving issues that you did not manage to resolve in your previous life. Giving direction in your present life and making women pregnant for the future generations. So you are your ancestor.
Okay.
So you cannot talk about consulting anybody. Consult yourself.
Oh, perfect.
I guess that's a no. All right, that's it, right? Okay, cool.
Are we okay?
Yeah.
I didn't want to answer. I'm answering you because it's coming from a very good space. So I thought I would make it very personal so that you could hear me.
Yeah, I think I'm answered.
Thank you.
All right, okay. Great. All right, I think that's all the questions that we had for Elder.
Okay,
so
I will do something for you, though you did not ask for it.
I was waiting for it. We were supposed to do it at the beginning.
No?
We were supposed to, I'm organizing a collab for you. And so I shall featuring Joshua Maponga.
Nashadai.
Oh, Nashadai. All right, there you go. That seemed like it was spiritual. That was, yeah.
I went somewhere and I came back. Yeah.
Yes, I saw that. Thank you very much, Elder.
Thank you.
Let's give Elder a round of applause.
Danny J Show. Zvanga zviri downtown uptown raitidzwe nyaya dzacho dzese narrative ndaichidwe kana mchida kutipisa deep ndaipidwe make you spill a bean if you know what I mean hande